Welcome to your fast track to sounding authentically Mexican. From the 4 weird words that Mexicans use instead of dinero, to classics like no manches, get ready to unlock the secrets of Mexican Spanish.
¿Listos para sonar como mexicanos de verdad?
Now, we're going to whiz you through lots of words and phrases, so make sure to pause the video if you want to take notes. Let's start with words for everyday things.
Y la palabra número 1 es chamba.
Yeah, so this is just the Mexican version of trabajo, or work.
Por ejemplo, podrías decir, ¡ay! ¿Cómo odio mi chamba?
Which means, ugh, I hate my work so much.
Y también tenemos tianguis.
Yeah, so this is an open-air street market. And it actually comes from Nahuatl.
Siempre compramos nuestra comida en el tianguis, ¿verdad?
Yeah, they normally have the best produce. And the tianguis is where you'd often go to do the next word, mandado. And it can actually mean both errands and groceries.
Así que podrías decir, tengo que hacer un mandado.
Which would mean I have to run an errand.
O voy a comprar el mandado.
Which means I'm going to buy the groceries.
Y si estás comiendo en un tianguis, lo más probable es que te vas a enchilar.
Yeah, so the word enchilarse doesn't really exist in English. It's kind of like saying that you got spiced out because you ate something really, well, spicy.
Por ejemplo, podrías decir, me enchilé. Esas enchiladas pican un buen.
Yeah, so that would mean something like, I got really spiced out. Those enchiladas are really, really spicy. Okay, moving swiftly on to words used to express agreement.
Sí, primero tenemos va, que es una forma súper común y además muy informal de decir ok. Por ejemplo, va, nos vemos a las 8, güey.
Which means, okay, see you at 8, dude. And here's a fun one for you.
Por su pollo.
Which is basically just a fun variation of por supuesto, or of course.
Entonces, ¿vamos a la fiesta mañana?
Por su pollo.
Y también tenemos Simón, que es una palabra también bastante divertida.
Yeah, so apart from being a boy's name, Simón is also a really informal way of saying yeah. And if you want to say no colloquially, you can say
Nel.
Which means something like nope.
Y también tenemos Nel pastel, que es una variación un poco más divertida.
And the penultimate word in this section is?
Cámara.
And yeah, it does mean camera. But in Mexican Spanish, it's also a super common and informal way of expressing agreement.
Por cierto, después de que grabemos el video, ¿me puedes ayudar con algo?
Cámara. And finally, we have perhaps the most iconic words in Mexican Spanish.
Ándale y órale.
Yeah, so these can both mean okay, amongst many, many other things, which we explain in great detail in the Mexican Spanish Survival Guide down below. Anyway, let's have a look at some of the many words for people in Mexican Spanish.
Pues primero tenemos güey.
Yeah, so this has to be one of the most used words in Mexican Spanish. And it means something like dude or man or guy.
Por ejemplo, vamos a ver una peli, güey.
Are you up for watching a movie, dude?
Y bueno, regresando a palabras que significan dude, también tenemos morro y morra.
Yeah, so these work much the same as güey, but you need to use morra when referring to a woman. Oh, and you're also going to come across carnal, which means something like bro. And you're actually going to come across this one a lot in tianguis when the sellers are trying to be friendly. And there's another word that you're going to hear a lot in tianguis, especially if you're blonde, or even not so blonde in some cases.
Sí, güero si te estás refiriendo a un hombre y güera si es mujer.
And they both mean like blondie. And they're both just kind of friendly ways of referring to someone, so definitely don't take offense.
Y también tenemos chavo y chava.
Yeah, so these mean like young guy or young girl.
Por ejemplo, me encanta la playera de ese chavo.
I love that guy's t-shirt. And finally, two words which are a bit controversial.
Fresa.
Yeah, so this is like a posh or preppy person.
Por ejemplo, ese güey se ve bien fresa.
That guy looks really preppy.
Y naco.
Yeah, so naco is used to describe like a tacky person. And obviously, it's a really derogatory word, so it's not one that you should be throwing around too often. And moving swiftly on to money. I mean, we all love a bit of money, right?
Sí, en México se puede decir lana o varo.
Yeah, so these both mean pretty much the same thing. Money.
Por ejemplo, podrías decir, no puedo salir, güey, no tengo varo.
Which means, I can't go out, dude. I don't have any money. And there's also feria, which can also be used to speak about money generally.
Sí, y yo podría decir, y desafortunadamente es cierto, ando sin feria.
I don't have any money. But it can also be used to refer to small change.
¿Tienes feria para el camión?
Do you have any small change for the bus? And another super Mexican way of referring to small denomination coins or change is morraya.
Sí, esa palabra es muy buena. ¿Dónde la aprendiste?
Right, it's party time. No, not literally. We're just going to go over some essential party vocab. And obviously in Mexico they do say fiesta. But you're also going to come across some other words too.
Sí, por ejemplo, tenemos una pachanga.
Which is like a big boisterous party.
Y también tenemos una peda.
Yeah, so that's basically like a party with alcohol or a piss-up. And speaking of alcohol, Mexicans don't always call beers cervezas.
Sí, muchas veces le decimos chela. Por ejemplo, me eché 10 cervezas anoche, güey.
Which means like, I knocked back 10 beers last night, dude. Oh, and you might also come across cheves, which is pretty much interchangeable with chelas.
Ah, y otra palabra muy importante si te gusta tomar es caguama.
Yeah, so this literally means loggerhead turtle. But in Mexico, it's basically a really common way of referring to a massive 32-ounce bottle of beer. I'm all partied out, so let's move on to some exclamations.
Y primero tenemos fuchi o fuchila.
Yeah, so these are just fun ways of saying yuck. And you might also come across guacala.
Hueles muy mal hoy, Rupert. Guácala.
Hey. And if something unfortunate happens to you, well, here's an easy to learn and fairly innocuous way of saying like done in Mexican Spanish.
Chale. Y es una de mis palabras favoritas. Por ejemplo, chale, güey, se me olvidó mi cartera.
Which means, damn, dude, I forgot my wallet. And you might also come across chales. But worry not, it means the exact same thing. And another word that can mean like dan or geez is híjole. But it can also mean something like wow or oh my god. So make sure you pay attention to the context.
Híjole, no me lo puedo creer.
What happened?
No, nada, solo era un ejemplo. Y no se nos puede olvidar, chin.
Yeah, so this means like shoot or dan.
Por ejemplo, si yo dijera, chale, se me cayó mi elote, probablemente Rupert respondería con un chin, porque sabe que fue algo molesto, pero no tan grave.
Anyway, our final exclamation is a Mexican classic, right up there with güey and neta.
Sí, en vez de cuidado, solemos decir aguas.
It's just the Mexican version of watch out.
Aguas.
Huh?
Y hay unas cuantas palabras más que deberían saber.
Yeah, so we also have mande, which is a common response when someone's calling you from another room, or when you didn't quite catch something.
Por ejemplo, si alguien te está hablando y no escuchaste bien, puedes decir, mande, no te escuché.
which would translate to, "What was that? I didn't hear you." And next up is another one of Erika's favorites.
Chafa. Y lo es.
Yeah, so chafa means like tacky or badly made. Just like those fake pirated Ray-Ban sunglasses that you bought on the beach in Cancun that fell apart 3 days later. What else is there?
Pues todavía no les hemos hablado de gacho.
Yeah, that's another classic. And it can mean either horrible or mean, depending on the context.
Podrías decir, no seas gacho.
Yeah, so that's like, don't be so mean.
O, está bien gacha la comida.
Yeah, okay, so here it means horrible. The food is horrible. And our final miscellaneous word is?
Neta.
Which is basically the Mexican version of verdad, or truth. So, dime la neta means tell me the truth. And we dive a lot deeper into neta and many of the other words in this video in the Mexican Spanish Survival Guide, which basically teaches you everything you need to know to get by in day-to-day situations in Mexico. Hit the link below to find out more.
Y ya llegó la hora de los chunks. Y déjenme decirles que son súper mega útiles.
Yeah, these chunks are really going to help supercharge your Mexican Spanish, guys. And first up we have me late, which is like the informal Mexican version of sounds good.
Imagina que yo le digo a Rupert, ¿te gustaría ir a la playa este fin? Y él me puede responder con un, sí, me late.
I mean, I'm always up for the beach. And speaking of all things good, our next two chunks are...
¡Qué padre y qué chido!
Which basically mean like, how cool or how awesome. And trust me when I say that you're going to hear them a lot. And it's time for another classic. ¿Qué onda?
Sí que es un clásico. Es como el equivalente mexicano de WhatsApp.
Yeah, and the great thing about ¿Qué onda? Is that you can use it informally with pretty much anyone. And speaking of classics, here's another one.
No manches. Y me imagino que ya lo has escuchado si tienes amigos mexicanos, porque se usa para expresar sorpresa, decepción y frustración.
Yeah, so it can mean anything from you're kidding to darn. And it's another chunk that we cover in detail, along with its more famous vulgar alternative in the Mexican Spanish Survival Guide. Anyway, back to onda, and you definitely need to know the following chunks.
Qué buena onda y qué mala onda.
Yeah, so qué buena onda means something like how cool or how nice. And qué mala onda is the opposite.
Sí, cuando Rupert se come las últimas papas, siempre le digo, ¡qué mala onda!
Hey, I would never do that.
Y si Rupert se come las últimas papas y estoy de buenas, seguramente le diré una frase como esta. No hay pex, no hay bronca, no hay pedo.
Which will mean no problem or it's all good. But trust me, she's never said that to me if I've eaten all the chips. Anyway, we're on to our final three chunks. And this one's just the Mexican way of saying, don't get bummed out.
No te agüites. Por ejemplo, no te agüites, güey. Vas a encontrar a otra chica en un 2x3.
Which means, don't get bummed out, dude. You'll find another girl in no time. And we're on to our penultimate chunk.
¡Qué oso! Y significa, qué pena o qué vergüenza.
Basically, this is what you say when you're really embarrassed and want the floor to swallow you up.
Y finalmente tenemos un chunk bastante divertido. Pa' su mecha.
Yeah, so this one's actually from a 90s soap opera, but you'll still hear it quite a lot. It means something like, holy cow.
Pa' su mecha. Terminamos el video.
Oh yeah, we have.
Y eso es todo por hoy.
But if you want to continue improving your Mexican Spanish, definitely check out this video right here, in which Erika challenges me to correctly guess 10 Mexican slang words. Ah, and if I get any of them wrong, well, I have to eat a chili.
Y sí se equivoca.
And by the way, if you want to dig a little deeper into any of the words and phrases in today's video, well, We go into them in great detail in the Mexican Spanish Survival Guide down below, so make sure to check that out too.
Nos vemos ahí.